Hi, I'm Heather Cole with Lodestar Solutions, and this is one of the first videos in our series on upgrading to Cognos Analytics. In this video, we're going to give you a good overview of everything that you need to think about, and then we have other more detailed videos that will go into specific topics. So please know that this is kind of a good overview of everything you need to consider when you're planning your Cognos Analytics upgrade. What's the secret to success when upgrading your Cognos Analytics or Cognos BI environment to the latest version of Cognos Analytics? Well, like anything, the secret is to create a good roadmap that will guide you in your route. Now, just like driving downtown Chicago, sometimes there's road construction or unforeseen obstacles, and you have to reroute yourself. And your Cognos upgrade is not going to be a lot different than that. There's going to be a few unforeseen circumstances, but the more we plan, the more successful we will be. And our video series is designed to help you be successful and look like a rock star in your organization. Let's go over the high-level steps for preparing for your upgrade. The first thing that you will want to do is turn auditing on immediately if you don't already have it turned on. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. You're going to want to assess your content store. So the content store is like this thing that keeps growing over time, and really going back to the days of like ReportNet, when users really didn't create their own content. But as we moved into the later versions of Cognos and we really moved to that self-service model, that's when everyone started storing stuff. And where was that being stored? Typically, it ended up in the content store. So what you have now is this big cluttered content store. And the more we can streamline that, the easier your upgrade's going to be. So you're going to want to figure out what you want to keep and what to delete. We'll give you a script in this video as well that you might want to run. We got this from our dear friends over at Modio that will help you kind of assess that content store. You also might want to consider looking at Modio's inventory modules and Modio CI. We're going to talk about this in a lot of detail. We have other videos on this as well. But these are amazing tools that are really going to help you as an administrator of your Cognos BI system be able to make sure that it doesn't have performance issues, that it's streamlined, understand what even is out there, and be able to streamline that as well. And we're going to talk to you about this unique offer and partnership that Modio and IBM put together that can help you be successful. So stay tuned. You'll also want to estimate your costs to upgrade. We're going to help you with that. You're going to want to sell your upgrade internally, and we're even going to help you in that positioning. You're going to request a new environment for your upgrade, and we do at Lodestar recommend that you put it into a new environment. You're going to review your licensing to ensure the new environment is in compliance with the IBM rules, in particular the ILMT restrictions, and we'll talk about that as well. If you don't know what that is, just hang with us and we're going to get through it. You want to learn the new functionality of Cognos Analytics. Now, here's where I say, some of you are like, Heather, we just need to get on a supported version, and I get that. And the great thing is the underlying technology like Framework Manager really hasn't changed that much. So you could just upgrade and roll out the new functionality later, and we have a lot of clients that do that. And then, of course, you want to determine what to deploy and create your timeline. Let's go to auditing. Now, some of you already have this done, but some of you didn't realize you should turn on auditing. And what auditing is the capability within Cognos that will going to give you some details of what's going on in your system. And we really recommend that you go ahead and turn this on. Turn it on today if you can. There's no harm in turning that on. It's just going to keep a good record for you. But more importantly, it's going to give data that you can use to assess how massive is your upgrade project. Are there 10,000 reports? Are there 500 reports? How big is big? There is a video on YouTube that we will make sure that we put the link in the comments that you can go look at to turn this auditing on. What does Cognos Auditing track? Well, it tracks the systems and services starts and shutdowns and runtime errors. It's going to look at user account management and runtime. other user requests, service requests and response, and all requests to all components with the parameter value. So it's really going to give you the details of what reports are being run, how often they're being run, and also some of that performance. There is an audit sample reports and a package that are included as part of the standard Cognos Analytics server installation in Cognos version 11 and above. So you'll want to make sure that you do use that. There's some standard reports that will get you going. Now, can you just use these reports? Yes, but we're going to talk to you today also about some tools that Modio has that like 10x's what you can see. It makes it so much better and so much more information. As I mentioned earlier, you want to clean up your content store. The content store over the years could have become quite large. And it's kind of like a garage, and you want to keep it neat and orderly, but over the years, people just kind of threw stuff in it, and you have this really cluttered content store. Cluttered content stores are hard to maintain, no different than a cluttered garage. If you need to find something quick and your garage is a disaster, it could take you hours. And typically what do? You go out to the store and you buy that object you're looking for again and just add to more clutter. And that's kind of what happens with our content store. If it is massive, it can slow down your performance. So some of you are like, our old Cognos environment has performance issues. Well, maybe, just maybe it's your content store. It can also have corrupt objects and also a locking of the content store. So we want to solve this and clear the clutter. Now, as we discussed, Cognos allows users to have control over their content, like creating their own My Folders content. They could create a report. What happens, though, is that because of self-service and empowerment of our end users, which is absolutely a good thing, they might create a report and then they might tweak it a little and save the same report. And you might have 10, 12 copies of the same thing. So you really need to start to create retention rules that are announced and publicized to all your users so that you don't have the problem once you clean it up that it gets messy again. Now, I mentioned the Modio tools, which I think are fabulous. And in full disclosure, Lodestar Solutions is a reseller for Modio tools because we see how valuable they are to our clients. Now, what Modio tools can do is they can help you do what you probably are doing manually so much faster and actually kind of protect you. And I'll explain that in a moment. So the first thing, they can reduce the clutter of old unused reports and objects before you upgrade or after. So imagine if you had 2,000 reports in your system, and through kind of their tools, we can identify that you really only need to upgrade 1,000 of them. That alone will cut your upgrade and testing time by a lot and save you a ton of money too if you're using consultants to do this. They also provide complete regression testing. They have version control so that the production changes as you're kind of working your sandbox and testing the new version can be promoted to be able to test those new changes that are happening right now in production. When you do identify an issue, you can do a mass update instead of changing things one at a time manually. You can do stress testing before you go live to ensure your success and performance. And this is really important because you want to make sure that your environment is going to give your end users great performance, or they're just going to get frustrated. I love the ability to retrieve the content from orphaned or deleted users. For example, if you're using Active Directory and you delete a user that no longer is with the company, but their My Folders is still out there. So they won't be able to access Cognos, but all their stuff that they created is kind of orphaned out there. And you need to assign that maybe to another person, and Modio Tools can help you do that very rapidly. I really recommend, to get some visibility, even without the Modio Tools, that you consider running this quick query in your production environment to find out the number of objects that you have. Take a screenshot of this slide and go ahead and create that. If you have any questions, again, this came from our friends over at Modio. If you have any questions, just reach out to us at Lodestar Solutions. We'd be happy to help you. But this will give you some visibility. Now, you're going to have to plan your actual environment. We strongly recommend that you have a new environment If you're upgrading from 10.2, which is no longer supported and has not been supported by IBM since April of 2018, and you're jumping to an 11 release, which is where you should be going, it does require the components to be installed in a new location. If you're going from 1.11 version to the latest version, there is a feature that allows us to install on top of the previous version. So that will be a little bit simpler. Now, the content store repository choices are that you can either copy your existing content store, or you could start with a fresh content store database. And basically, upon initial startup, what it's going to do is create all the necessary tables, and then you're going to move your old content to the new. And we'd be happy to discuss what approach you want to take. Now, when you're planning for your new environment, if you have virtualized your system, which many of you have, you want to also make sure you consider the processing power and whether you're putting that on kind of new hardware. If you have PVU licensing, and we have a whole nother video on licensing, if you have PVU licensing, this could impact your price because you might need more licensing of the PVU if you give your servers more power. So going back to the licensing, as part of your upgrade, you definitely want to do a licensing review. At Lodestar Solutions, we give a complimentary license review for any client. If you have the processor value unit licensing model, you definitely want to double check that you're not putting it into an environment that is going to cause you to be out of compliance. We can help you with that. If you don't even know what a PVU licensing model is, don't worry. We have a video for that on licensing to help educate you. If you have PVU licensing, you may need the ILMT tool. There's another video on that and explaining what that monitoring tool does. But we've had a lot of clients that have been exposed to potentially failing an audit if they don't have that installed. As I said, if you roll out and you're on PVU licenses, you want to watch out for a phased approach, because if you have two environments, and when I say roll out, I mean, let's say finance goes up to Cognos Analytics, whereas all the other departments are staying on the older 10 version. If you do that, call me. Let's make sure we talk about it. I want to make sure you don't have a compliance issue there. And then finally, if you love the Modio Tools like I do, you may want to budget in there for Modio Tools. But IBM has worked a deal with Modio that will give clients 30-day trial copy. And I think that's a fabulous program. The next step you want to do is learn the new functionality of Cognos Analytics. So Mike Bernache on our team has made a new video on some of the new functionality, but check those out. And then if you have specific questions, at the end of this video, I'll give you the contact information for myself and for Mike that you can reach out to us personally. Because there is so much new functionality in Cognos Analytics version over the 10 version, you will want to create a functionality rollout plan. You want to test the features, kind of see how it adds value to the business users, and then start to roll that out. We can absolutely help you with that as well. Now, here at Lodestar Solutions, we leverage our BAM approach. Yes, that stands for Business Analytics Agile Methodology. And that is our proven upgrade and implementation methodology. It uses an agile approach to make sure that we're getting value and getting some quick wins. And if you work with us, we, in all projects, leverage our BAM methodology. And it's a great name, isn't it? BAM. So the cost that you want to consider is the new environment. Many of you are going to be able to spin that up very quickly with a virtualization of your servers. Whether you're going to use Modio Tools, whether you're going to need consultants, and what training you might need. A lot of our clients are very self-sufficient, and that's what we want them to be, but they have benefited from what we call gap training. Gap training is where we identify what maybe you don't know, maybe you missed along the way, or what's new, and we train you on those specific features and functionality. We also can provide a whole breadth of end user training as well. You want to look at your internal resources, who's available, who's going to do the testing, what departments you're rolling out, and make sure you consider those costs into your project. any licensing. Now, most of you are current on IBM support. So hopefully, if you're in the right licensing mix, you won't have a problem and that won't be a cost. But we do want to just make certain that if you upgrade your environment, that you're not putting yourself out of compliance. And then, of course, the installation of the ILMT tool if you do not have that already installed. At the end of the day, I fully appreciate that every one of you has to sell this internally. My goal is to help you sell it internally. We'll actually help you create your whole return on investment strategy. We'll help you with your presentations if you want us to do that as well. But what I found over doing this for over 25 years is what CFOs and CIOs and any business users you're trying to get approval from is they like certainty. So in your proposal, you want to make sure you have a timeline, you have a process. Now, I like a phased approach. I like to make sure we kind of install in a sandbox. We start to get visibility. We use the Modio Tools to identify what kind of work is going to be required for this. With that, we can follow a methodology of identifying, your reports, how many are kind of simple, how many are medium, and how many are complex. Obviously, the complex ones have a bigger risk factor in the upgrade. You also want to give them costs and say, we'll do the full analysis. Again, we have other videos on that. You want to spell out the benefits to the organization. And here's the secret sauce. You want to tie it to the strategic goals of your organization. Now, some of you are like, what? I don't know what those are. That's where you're going to do your homework. When you work with us, we're going to coach you to find out what the executives are focused on. What are the strategic goals? And we're going to tie your project into one of those strategic goals. And that's where you're going to be able to sell it internally. Now, many of you, this will be a new process for you, but we're excited to share it with you. And it's part of our BAM process. And of course, we want to make sure that you're looking at the timeline. For example, finance department always has certain times of the year that are horrible for them. And we want to make sure you've considered that in your timeline and availability of resources. Because if you're trying to get funding from the CFO, for example, he or she will want to make sure that you're not taxing the finance department any more than needs to be, and especially what time of year. At the end of the day, CFOs are risk mitigators. They don't like it. Now, you can use this to your advantage if you're on version 10 or earlier. You're on an unsupported version. And here's a true example. Microsoft has some integration components, and if they sent down an update and it broke something, you could be really exposed, because now you're going to have an issue. You're going to call IBM for support, and they're going to say, you're on an unsupported version. You need to upgrade. If you can explain that in your proposal that you want to mitigate that risk, that's going to help you as well. Here's the real secret sauce is make them think it's their idea. So you kind of play out the risk and reward so that they're like, ooh, we need to upgrade. Now, again, we can do this in a phased approach and work within a budget if need be. So your next steps, your homework, and we want to give you the escalator ride, something much faster than the stairs for the long haul. And we're going to watch the other videos. So that's the first thing. Mike's got some great videos out there on new functionality. We have videos on the licensing, on the ILMT, on costs. And so make sure that you favorite this library and tell your friends if they work at other companies or within your organization. Make sure that they come to this library and start getting educated because you want to work as a team. Then set up a consultation with us here at Lodestar Solutions. We will give you a free initial consultation to talk about your upgrade, tell you where the landmines are so that you don't step on them, and make sure you're successful. So go ahead, reach out to us now, open up your Outlook, send us an email. You can contact me directly at sales@lodestarsolutions.com or reach out to Mike Bernation, our services team, for any questions at all. And that's at services@lodestarsolutions.com. We hoped you liked this video, and please reach out to us and tell your friends. We want to make sure that everyone has successful upgrades and really can benefit from the fabulous new functionality that IBM has brought to us. So have a great day. Hey, it's Heather with Lodestar. I hope you really enjoyed that video and found it useful. We have more videos and we're going to continuously add even more videos to this library. But for you to know about the new videos, you need to join our mailing list. So please join our mailing list today so we can inform you. And we'd also like your comments on this video. Just go ahead and add them here in YouTube. And also send us an email and let us know what you're struggling with so we can add more value to your upgrade.